Well, good day, everyone. Thank you for coming today to today's demo, R for Healthcare Dataviz. I see a bunch of you are here. I guess I'm just going to quick get started because I know people will be coming in, and you're all going to want to see my demo, right? So I'm Monika Wahi, and I'm a data scientist in the healthcare space, and I do a lot of education. So today's lecture is so I work a lot with SAS, and even if you don't use SAS, you might know about SAS. So SAS users and people in healthcare analytics are always looking to improve the clarity of our visualizations. So I publish a lot in the peer-reviewed literature, and I help my customers do that too. And I teach people how to do that. And SAS provides visualizations, but they're mostly for troubleshooting, like box plots to look at distributions. They're not really for prime time. So then you get stuck with, what do you do? Do you use Excel? Well, that doesn't really make a box plot. And then you have those kind of challenges. So customization is important, but it's kind of hard in a lot of statistics display programs. People say, well, Tableau is so beautiful, but Tableau is a little challenging, right? You can't fudge it. Your charts have to be accurate. You have to be using the actual estimates from your data. And also, even though I publish a lot in the peer-reviewed literature, like I'll make reports that you print out, we're moving in a direction where if you're doing that, why aren't you making a dashboard? Why aren't you making something that you can automate and you can put dynamic data behind? I mean, can you make the next step of your development be that? And the answer is no in SAS, or SAS would like you to believe it's yes, because they have some tools for that. But in a practical sense, it's not very easy, because SAS was invented way before the internet was, whereas R was sort of invented along with the internet. And so if you can make a visualization for a journal in R, it's not too much to take your code and turn it into a dashboard or something automated. And so basically, I've been a healthcare data analyst, like a biostatistician, for about the last 20 years. And as soon as R was available, the first thing I was using it to do was to solve data visualization problems in healthcare. So I want to share with you today some quick and dirty tidbits, just things you can quickly do in R to solve your data visualization problems. And before we go too far, I want to remind you, I'm announcing I'm going to be running again my free online workshop in application basics. The one I ran last time, we focused on SAS integration. This time we'll focus on R, like the thing I just said. What if you want to make a dashboard in R, but you don't, you have Oracle, or you have Epic, or like, is it possible? And the answer is yeah. So if you want to know how, join my free workshop. So it's a 6-hour workshop, but I don't make you sit there for 6 hours. It's actually in 3 sessions, okay? And there's no homework in between. I'll put you in groups during the workshop, and Zoom groups, you can do that, and make you do the little challenges. So you learn something, right? So each session, will last 2 to 3 hours, depending on how many people show up. I try to make it not last too long, but I do want to put you in groups and have you, debrief to everybody. And so you have these 3 sessions: Monday, September 25th, Wednesday, September 27th, and Friday, September 29th. Each session, excuse me, it starts at noon Eastern time, and like I said, takes 2 to 3 hours. And then finally you have an independent private Zoom meeting with me for 30 minutes. It's a wrap-up session. All right. And you get free access to all the online course materials. And there's a link to register for the free workshop in the LinkedIn event description. And it's in, I tried to put it on all the posts and stuff in case you want to go. All right, back to our regularly scheduled program. So why am I talking to all these people about R for like journal figures, for data visualizations in healthcare that you're going to use in healthcare? You're going to use to communicate to the scientific community, or to patients, or to colleagues. Okay, because R makes it very easy to put on your visualization what you want. Okay, so imagine you've got these two bars and error bars, and you would put a dot in the middle, like an asterisk, to say, you know, p less than 0.05 or something like that. You just go crazy in other programs because if it's an older program like SAS, you usually have to cause a calculation or do some sort of fudgy thing. If it's a newer sort of application like Tableau, well, you have to learn how to use Tableau, right? Which isn't obvious to me. So, of course, to do this, you have to learn R, but it can be so quick and dirty. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. So in R, so those of you who are not familiar with R is free and open source. But if you download R GUI, which is like the simple version I'm going to demonstrate today, it's like visually simple. If you download and install R GUI, you'll find there's not much in it, right? It's not like base SAS. So base R, not much in it. Some cool stuff, but not much in it. Why? Because it's free and it's open source. And so the community develops packages that you can install. And then it doesn't have to be very big. So there are two main approaches in R for graphing, as you can probably guess now. Base R has some graphing capabilities, like you can make a box plot, you can make histograms, whatever, in base R. But when I started using R, I was writing a journal article, and I tried to use base R for my journal article, and it looked pretty good. I mean, the base R produces pretty nice visualizations, but I was trying to get picky with it and put dots on it or something, put some words on it, and I was limited. So what I learned back then, and what everybody knows now, is that the go-to package for plotting in R is called ggplot2. Now, why the two? Why there's folklore. I don't know what it is, but ggplot2 is your go-to plotting package. Now, I'm just going to be clear. ggplot2 isn't just one really package. I mean, it is a package of ggplot2, but if you Google online for instructions on how to make R plots, almost every blog post will say, well, you need more libraries than just ggplot2. But ggplot2 is sort of this base package that works with other packages. So let's say you were going to invent a new way of plotting something like a heat map or something. You would probably, if you were an R developer, you'd probably base it on ggplot2. So ggplot2 is super basic package for visualization in R. Okay, I'm not knocking base R. Base R is good for quickies. Like I use base R for box plotting. Like if I'm going and I'm like, what's the distribution box plot? I even have a blog post about it. Using base R for box plots. But ggplot2 plots are eminently customizable. They're just so gorgeous. You can make them so gorgeous. And it's not that hard, actually. You just have to be patient. You have to futz with it. Like you'll find I'll find myself when I'm getting ready to fuss with a ggplot2 plot for a journal. I'll give myself a good half hour to an hour because I want that thing to be perfect. But I'm perfectionist. But still, it's fun and you can do it. And that's why I like it. So many other R graphing packages rely on ggplot2, like I said. And this lecture today, this demo, will be ggplot2. It will not be base R, okay? So I'm already getting you into something advanced. And if you download the slides to this, which you should be able to do, there's a link. You will get these links. And I have a blog post about using hexadecimal colors in R, which sounds hard, but it's not. I have a blog post about adding error bars, and then there's GitHub files, but right now I'm going to move right on to our demo. So let me go find my R. Okay, so here we are in R. Let me see if there's any questions in the chat here. No, I guess not. Okay, so I've got this data set that I'm going to demonstrate to you. So where does this data set come from? It is associated with a peer-reviewed article, but the article was about mice, and I honestly don't remember much about the article. It was one of my customers needed some help, like visualizing his data. Okay, so this is our GUI. This is the console. This is kind of like, for SAS users, this is kind of like the log file. That's the closest thing. And see, comments here are with what is it, octothorpe? So I'm going to read this data set in this RDS data set, and it's called metric plot data. So I'm just going to execute this. And now I'm going to execute this. I'm doing Control R to just show you what's in it. All right, so let's go over this data set. So what's in here? It's so cute. It's a baby data set. It's actually a summary data set. Okay, so let me just make sure you understand what's going on in this data set. So there were 4 groups of mice, if I remember correctly, A, B, C, and D. Okay, and this measure, each of these is a distance that was measured. It's something to do with periodontitis. And I know mice don't get periodontitis, so don't start with me. I don't remember the article. Okay, so in group A, this measurement, here was the mean and here was the standard error. Okay, so where did I get that data? Well, I got it from somewhere else. I calculated it and I made this table. So one of my other events in this lecture series is about how to make tables from scratch in R. And that would explain to you how simple it was to do this. But basically, I want you to use your imagination and imagine this isn't a few mice in a lab study. I want you to imagine this is like surveillance data, okay, of like a lot of people. And this is like 4 states, like Minnesota, Florida, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, right? Okay, like 4 states, right? And let's say this measure is like this one is rate of smoking, right? Tobacco. And then this would be like rate. You see what I'm saying? And then this would be the same 4 states. And this would be like rate of binge drinking. And this would be like the rate. So what would happen is if you were doing this in SAS and using like BRFSS data, you'd be like, oh, you're talking like proc univariate stuff, right? And I'm like, yeah, well, you can do all that in SAS and you can steal the numbers out of SAS and quick throw them in a BB data set just this size. It'd be the same size because this is the structure you need for ggplot2. So basically, you have to cook your data set up to be in the right shape for ggplot2. And I always think about it as you're going to need this value you're going to actually graph. So in this case, we're going to be making a bar graph, but ggplot2 syntax is kind of similar no matter whether you're making a box plot or whatever. You're going to need to know the name of your variable. All right. So then the next thing we do is we run ggplot2 library. So this calls in the library. You have to install this. So the other day I was helping a customer and she was using a really complex new package. So I threw away my old R. I just erased it and I downloaded it again. And I had to install the packages again. So that's what happens is when you erase your R and you download and install, you have to install your package. You might just need to make sure you've installed this ggplot2. Okay, so now I'm going to run this plot. Actually, let me just run the plot right now. So this is my base plot. That's what I'm going to call it. Okay, so let's look at these colors. These are the default colors that come out in R. If you just run a plot and you don't tell it what colors, you'll get this. Okay, so I went over what was in here, you know, group A, B, C, D, right? And let's see here, down here. So these are the measurements that are labeled. So let's just go back to this. So this was the command was ggplot. And it printed it to the screen. You know, you can do like, if you do like that, it'll store it in this P for an object. People do that. But this made it come to the screen. So what's going on here? Well, SAS users who like data steps, you'll probably recognize what's going on because it's executing this line, then plus, then executing this line, then plus, and do I forget the pluses? Yes, I forget the pluses. They're kind of like semicolons in SAS, right? But you got to make sure the plus is there. Then it executes this line and executes this line, and then this is the end, right? And so okay, so this is ggplot2 syntax, even though this says ggplot. Okay, so how does that syntax go? The first thing you call is the name of the data set you're plotting. In fact, I think you can even put like file equals or data equals there. Okay. Then this is really important. The next call is this AES. And if you ask me what that stands for, I've been told it stands for aesthetic, but I don't know why. And it's here where, so this is a little weird. You're designating what X is and what Y is and what fill is. Like you're designating all these things in the AES. But if you just run, like, let me show you, I'll close this. If I just run this, nothing happens. I mean, I shouldn't say nothing happens. It's blank. And the reason why it's blank is I'm just telling R, like, look in this data set and you're going to find the X is under measure and the measure is the X. Mean is the Y, not SE or whatever, it's mean. And fill is group, this one. Like I'm telling it that. By the way, if anybody ever tells you to graph anything, use these variables, use these values, right? But now I'm going to add the geom underscore bar. Like, what do you think this is going to be? It's going to be a bar plot, right? I just showed it to you. So you'll see that there's an argument inside geom bar. Like this ggplot2 has this argument, and then there's this plus. We're still in ggplot2 land. So geom bar has this argument, position equals position dodge. What that does is it makes the bars be next to each other. Otherwise, it's stacked. And boy, did I get confused when I first started that. And then stat equals identity is the hack to make it, I don't know, look at the mean, or I'm not really sure, but that's how you have to do it to get it good. And I'm just going to run this code just to show you that adds all this, right? Now everything, it's not stacked because I did that position thing, but it doesn't have any axis labels. So Y label mean mm and X label is measurement. So now I can run the whole thing and you'll see that the labels on there. Okay, so I've shown you how to make the most basic of plots, and often the work is in trying to actually figure out this little baby data set you're going to plot. Like, what is the shape? What info do you want to put in it? Because you notice I put SE in here, and I'll tell you why, right? And see how this fill equals group kind of makes this work. Well, let's say that I didn't have the name of that column wasn't group. Let's say the name of it was condition or something, and I didn't want that here. So then I have to go, what do I do? Do I just plot data frame? That's what this is called, data frame, or do I do some sort of hack here? So you can really go down the rabbit hole with ggplot2 and getting it just right. But I wanted to show you, let's see here. I wanted to show you how you add to the base plot. So here's one way I can add to the base plot. I'm going to pull this out here. So this is the same old plot. Let's save this. I'm going to close this. This just opens when you're in it. Okay, so we're using the same data, only now what am I doing here? So see this cool colors? So all I'm doing here is making a vector, okay? And this vector could say anything, like anything between here. It could say like Monika, data scientist, or whatever, and you can put as many as you want. And this is just a character vector, and I named it cool colors. So I'm going to run it. And then I'm just going to show you what's in it, right? And it's just this, but you guys know what this is. It's hexadecimal colors. And I had to use a color picker to figure it out. And that's one of my blog posts you could look at. You can explain how I do that, okay? So now cool colors is a vector. It's a thing, okay? So here's our ggplot data again, or a ggplot command again. And you're going to recognize this. Okay, metric plot data, AES, measure mean group, fill is group. Okay, so everything's normal. Geom plot, okay. Oh, here, color equals black. Well, what am I doing? Right? I don't like those default colors. I'm going to get rid of them. I'm going to just make it black, right? Like paint it black, like the Rolling Stones. So I'm going to start by making it black, but you can kind of see what's coming, right? And this is where it gets data steppy, is I'm making this black here, adding the labels, and then I'm using scale fill manual. This is such a cool command. And values equals, now I could say value equals this whole string, but it's just easier to do it this way because I can change cool colors to something else. If you go to my blog post on the colors, R has different ways you can refer to colors. Like there are some programmed in colors like red, green, and then you can use RGB. There's just different ways, and there are packages that will automatically give you colors. So there's all these different ways. So let's just run this plot with the cool colors here. See that? I call this like beach ball colors. Like makes me want to go to the beach, play with beach ball. Let's see here. So now another of those blog posts. So let's say you don't want to go to the beach. You don't want the beach ball. So I used to be a fashion designer. And one of the things we learned in fashion design is that if we were sort of needed inspiration for colors, we should really look to nature. Okay. And I actually feel like a lot of my plots are very boring and I have trouble getting colors to look different. They all look the same. So I took a picture when I went on vacation at a vineyard, the Wente vineyard. And I used colors from that picture to try and make my own palette, right? So you can see here, I make these hexadecimal colors into just variables like Wente sky, Wente leaf, Wente pole, Wente ground. And you can see this on my blog, how I did this. And then I put them all together into Wente colors, right? And so now, how do I put Wente colors in there? So simple. I go, see how this used to be cool colors? Now I just replace it with Wente colors and we're going to go look at it. So you can see here, here's the sky, the leaf, the ground, I guess, the pole. Maybe this is a pole. I'll have to go to my webpage, right? But see how this created sort of a new, nature inspired palette. And so I'm being all like fashion designery, but the reason why I'm doing that is you sometimes need this. When you're doing scientific communication visually, like red is alarm and green is it's good, and sometimes you want a gradation like this is, or yellow is on the way. Like you want to be able to control the color so you can control like your communication. And that's what I like. That's one thing I really, really like about R. And so let me see here. I'm gonna open up. Oh, here's the one about adding error bars. So remember standard error? Remember standard error. Let's look at our data again. So far in our ggplot code, you've noticed that I've talked about the group column, and I've talked about the measure column. See, here's group is the fill. Even though we made it black and made it prettier last time, still the group is what caused it to be filled different colors, because that's what comes out on the legend. Okay, so I got that going. And measure says is what's across the x-axis, the three groups, right? And mean is how tall the bar is. So I haven't used SE yet. Well, look at what I'm going to do now. So remember how I showed you if you just run this, like nothing really appears. I mean, a blank plot appears because we haven't told it yet that we want geom bar. And so to add to that idea, we can add more stuff than just geom bar. We can add geom error bar too, but we have to add it downstairs here because we have to wait until all this other stuff is here. Well, you don't have to have all the other stuff there, but you want to have some stuff here before that, because you want to make sure that the error bars are landing in the right place. So let's look at this. So all this is, we're pretend this is the cool colors. These are beach ball colors. So we got scale fill method. So I added a plus and then geom underscore error bar. So it's like geom bar, but again, you're going to have different arguments in it. So here's the AES. Now, I'm putting arguments in here in the AES. I put y min equals mean minus SE, and y max equals mean plus SE. And where you're probably going, how does it know what's a mean in the SE? It's literally calculating this. It's saying put the y minimum of the bar, whatever this is, minus whatever this is. So you're like, oh yeah, this is plus or minus 1 SE, right? And if you wanted 2 SE, you could do 2 times or 3, whatever. Or you could make a margin of error. That sometimes I'll do that. I'll make a margin of error because I'm doing confidence intervals. Well, whatever. You can figure it out, but you can throw it in here. Like if you've got a weird margin of error, like you're using a pooled SE or something, you can just pre-cook that stuff in SAS and just throw it in here and then use it. And then this width just says how wide it's going to be. And then remember position dodge. And I've got it dodging a little. Let's just go see what I looked. I think I So again, this is where you go down the rabbit hole. See, oh, it's so cute. Look at this, look at this. And you can tell it's doing it right because this one is a little one and this one's a big one. And doing this in Excel is such a pain. You have to go and edit each one of them. And this just, oh, I was so happy because I can do it in Excel. But anyway, so that's the error bars. And that's what I said I was going to go over. But I also want to, I in between setting this up and now I realized I wanted to show you something else, and that is how you can add text to it. Let's see here, open script, which I added this to the GitHub too. So let's get rid of this here. I'm looking at, did anybody have, if you have questions, you can put it in chat. Okay, so what if you want to add text? And I mean any text. You want to add data labels, you want to add just a message, you want to add like a dots or asterisks or P lesson or a P somewhere, or I don't know. You want to put a line across and say this is the like quality line or something. I just love R because you can use ggplot2 and you can just do whatever you want, which is why you go down the rabbit hole for an hour with every plot before you're ready, right? So what do we have here? Well, if I just run everything up to here, we have this. We have our base plot with the cool colors and no error bars, nothing fancy, right? So that's up to here. So let's say I add this next line. What does this next line do? It's called geom_text. Well, what this does is it adds the data labels onto these bars, okay? So the label equals, now I could say in the AES, I could say label equals mean, but the means in this, I mean, I think, let's see here. It's like raw means, right? So they're like long and they're going to be ugly as a data label. So I made it be round, mean, and then 0 is like just rounded, cut off everything after the decimal. Then position, dodge, and this width, and this is again because the bar. And then VJust, you probably guessed what that is, vertical adjustment. I put 1.125. So this is like, you know how like these data labels will want to come out right on the line? Like you don't want them right on the line. So let me add this. See how easy it is to troubleshoot? You just keep going one line. But it is actually really easy to screw up your code while you're building one of these. Like you can get everything going and then suddenly something doesn't work. So you want to be really organized and save a lot of versions. I think maybe our studio is better at that stuff. So here's what happens. See that? And it's not really perfect because see, this is kind of dark. So if this was I was going for the journal, I'd probably like, oh, I probably want to lighten this or do something about this dark color. But otherwise it looks pretty cool. Then I also wanted to explain how you can just add text. You can just arbitrarily write anything on there. And that's where you add this annotate here. So annotate is a little fancy. It's a little, ggplot2 is a lot like data steps because it's totally internally inconsistent, right? So suddenly this is annotate and then it says text. And what does that mean? It means you're annotating with text, but But here, this is pretty easy. X equals 1.5 and Y equals 210. So where do I get that? Well, on the x-axis, this is 1, and this is 2, and this is 3. So 1.5 is going to be somewhere along here. And then 210, well, we know where 210 is. It's about up here, right? So I'm trying to put something right about in this white area, right? And the size is 8. Oh, look, it's hi, Mom. Too bad my mom's not here. Hi, Mom. I should have invited her. I didn't invite her. I don't know if she uses R. I don't think so. But she'd be open to it because it's free. We love free stuff. All right. So as you can see, and so you can also see why this is going down the rabbit hole too, because you'll sit and fuss with all these things. You can Google and go on to Stack Overflow and or there's some good blogs. And so getting back to my slideshow here. So why ggplot2? So here's Sass talking to me. And I said, Sass, I wish I could just make the base plot and then add annotations and forming to it with extra programming, just like I do Sass in data steps. But Sass says, sorry, sweetheart, you can't, right? And so ggplot2 solves that problem. So of course I love SAS, right? I'm not going to leave SAS, but maybe I just need to take the summary, the proc univariate stuff out of SAS and make a little baby data set in R, which again, there's another event in this. I think I'm posting it tomorrow. That's about how to make a table like that in R, which is pretty simple. Like I mentioned a little earlier, I just demonstrated this in our GUI. Our studio is an integrated development environment, which is it's just a different way of using R, and it opens windows. Like you saw how that would open this output and then I close it for a plot. Our studio makes it really easy. It'll just open, it'll just refresh a window and you can make dashboards and stuff. I'm just kind of old and old-fashioned, so our studio is easier on me. But either way, I can give you my ggplot2 code from our studio, and you can kick it up a notch and make it into a dashboard. And you can use packages like R Shiny is a package that I've used with a collaborator to make an R dashboard. And as you can see, you can add lines of code for formatting. And I just wanted to go over a few things I didn't show you, but these are just some features or tips about ggplot2. So first of all, like I was saying earlier, you do need to calculate the values you want to graph and make a plot data frame. So one graphable value per row. So we need use SAS, right? Like we got to figure out each value, each Y or whatever we're going to graph, and put that in the plot data frame. Okay. And it's not hard to put those together from scratch. So that's not bad. It's just, you have to do a lot of research before you approach ggplot2. Also, the order you put commands down in ggplot2 will change how they execute. So remember that black and then cool colors. If I put another thing on top of that, it might screw up the colors, it might screw up the legend. And so you have to, again, save often, save backups. SAS users know all about this. Also, you can save, like I mentioned, you can save the ggplot2 results as objects in R. Like you can save it as a P, or you don't have to call it P, but a lot of people do for plot. And then they'll apply ggplot code to the P. Like they'll say P plus error bar. But I don't like doing that because I get confused in my own. So I try to build my code so you don't have to do that. Code readability really counts. There are a lot of nesting going on in ggplot2 plots. So you really have to be very neat about your pluses and indentations. I didn't go over this, but there are these things called themes, and usually they're the last line you apply, and they can give your plot a look. Like theme underscore minimal makes it very minimal. You know how like in Excel where you could choose your plot to not have really any lines in it except the axes? That's what theme minimal does. Or you could have theme maximal. I don't think it's called maximal, but you have these different themes that really make it look nice. And so you can apply those, but that's usually the last line of code. Also, ggsave is another command that works with ggplot, and that allows you to output those plots in a certain size and shape, like PowerPoint, right? And it's great for journals, because it just makes it resizes it. Because you could probably see, I can show you that when you did this wrong. Like here, let me just show you. See this plot here? Like this is just a window, right? Like I can make it really wide. And if I make it really wide and I do file save as, I'll just save this wide thing, arbitrarily wide, right? Annoying. So ggsave allows you to like export it in a perfect way. And I actually have on my YouTube channel, if you go there and look around, there's a video on how to use ggsave. All right, so I'm looking to see if there's any oh, that's great that Karen came. That's wonderful. And those of you, look in the chat. My assistant Ebenezer is here. Thank you, Ebenezer. You're so helpful. He has given us the link to sign up for the workshop. So what the workshop is about is, those of you who joined later, I'm offering this free online workshop. It's 3 sessions and it's about applications. And what are applications? Well, if you don't know, show up. Sign up for a workshop. It'll be 3 sessions, which each will last 2 to 3 hours. It's based on an online course that you'll normally costs a lot of money, but you'll have free access to as part of this workshop. And the workshop is about applications and how to do like application integration, how applications are built, how they work together. But the way I'm going to teach this workshop is we're going to focus on using R, ways you can put R in your application pipeline. And if you're like, I don't know what any of that is, don't worry, because I teach you a lot of terminology. If you're trained like a data analyst or a biostatistician, you aren't really trained formally in computer science. So there's a lot of computer science stuff like you didn't get in the classroom. So this is to sort of fill you in on that and then let you like expand your ability to use R and SAS and these other things and let them play with other applications like SQL or, all these apps we have now, social media apps, everything. So if you really want a great hands-on experience working with other people and learning about applications in data science, and especially how you can use R with them, because remember, R is free, you just have to know how to use it. I encourage you to sign up for the workshop. And as soon as you do, I'll get back to you and I'll give you the instructions of how to get to the course and what you need to do. And the workshops are on Zoom, just like this event. And then and if you want these slides, just remember to go to the link and that's with this event and download the slides, and you'll have the link to all of those resources. Let me go. This is the course, online course in applications basics that we're going to go over in the workshop that you'll have free access to. This is my blog post about colors, and this sort of explains using the code that that you're going to have access to, that I just demonstrated. And here's another post that explains how to use these bar. Let me see if I put the ggsave. I should really link the ggsave video on there. I don't have it. I'm sorry. But yeah, those links are all in the slides. So make sure you download the slides. All right. Any questions or any feedback? Or if you ask me to program on the fly, it probably won't work, but I'm willing to try. That was kind of a poem, right? Well, I wanted to thank you for showing up to our demo today. And I'm going to be doing some demos over September. And thanks again to Ebenezer, who's helping me. He's going to help promote them. So, everybody knows that they can show up and get the free stuff. So thank you very much. I hope that this starts your week out well, and that, oh, you're welcome. I hope this starts your week out well, and that you have a good week, and that I see you at the next event. Thank you for watching this video, which is part of the Public Health to Data Science Rebrand program. If you are interested in joining the program, please sign up for a 30-minute Zoom interview using the link in the description.